this is Lee back once again for another review, and as you can see, I'm cleaned up, I'm rested, I got a little bit of a tan. I'm back from my adventure, seeing my first double weekend. Well, single weekend, I should say. But my live experience of Shimmer, volume 76 and 77 on a Saturday. And then getting up the next day and seeing 78 and 79. This is an incredible amount of wrestling to watch in one weekend. I don't know if I'll ever do it again. It was just so exhausting. Of course, I can't imagine what it was like for the actual wrestlers. Anyway, I wanted to share some of my thoughts. I got very long-winded in my last video. I was so tired. I was barely coherent, and I apologize. I made several mistakes, and I said the wrong thing a couple of times. I knew that would happen because I was tired, but I wanted to get my thoughts out in advance. And I'm going to preface this video with some comments about some different things to clarify. I'm not any kind of like wrestling insider. I've only been a fan, actually, of your professional wrestling entertainment for maybe about 5 or 6 years, really. Certainly I haven't been watching Shimmer since the beginning like some persons. I think there's a core group of maybe 10 to 20 fans who seems like they're at every show, or 90% or something like that. I got involved very late, around volume 41, and I've usually only attended the Saturday shows, so I just got a glimpse of what it was like for some of these super fans, to really get involved and go backstage, and they're friends with the wrestlers, and they drink with Dave Prazak, and play checkers, and I don't know, I'm just making things up, but certainly I'm not one of those people. I'm just a fan. But I enjoyed my experience very much and wanted to share my perspective on it. Certainly, I was very excited Saturday. I was recording some of my thoughts about the show, and I wanted to upload them immediately to the internet for people to see. Then I thought, well, what's the big deal? I mean, really, these super fans, and many of the wrestling journalists, dirt sheet writers and podcasters and so forth, they were tweeting their results during the show. It was a little distracting with all these little glowing screens in the background where people were immediately, a match would end, they'd say, okay, so-and-so beat so-and-so using this move, and, this is how long the match lasted, and blah, 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 and here's my rating, ding, and it was done. You can't compete with that, really. I mean, my camera batteries ran out at the end of the evening. I couldn't take as many pictures as I wanted. So certainly I can't compete with that, but I prefer the actual experience itself. I mean, think about it. If you're at an event of some kind, and you're looking through a camera lens the entire time, your memory is going to be of that screen, not of what's actually in front of you. So I tried not to stay glued to my camera the whole time. And I'm glad that I was not tasked with professionally recording these events, as the cameramen were. There were like 4 or 5 different cameramen running around, scurrying about the outside of the ring during the shows, and I noticed they were using, handheld cameras. I'm getting a bit off track, but nevertheless, I enjoyed my experience, and I'm sharing my opinions, not to try to steal anyone else's thunder, so to speak. I know all of the super fans already know more about the show than I could ever say, but that's okay. I think most of the fans that I've met were very nice people, some eccentric characters, if you will. Some people, it seems that they come to the shows more to draw attention to themselves than to experience the show itself. But I don't hold that against them. Certainly, people entertain themselves in different ways. But I'm just a simple fan, a simple reviewer, and these videos that I'm creating right now are unique in my overall channel, because most of the time I'll be reviewing digital versatile discs. Now, of course, I realize that Shimmer is a niche product, a niche of a niche, if you will, to get fancy, because most people that experience wrestling do so through their television screens, watching WWE. Maybe they remember WCW, ECW, and so forth, or TNA. But beyond that, who cares about wrestling these days? It's not as popular as it was in North America, in the United States in the 1980s with Hulk Hogan and all those guys. Ultimate Warrior and Andre the Giant and Randy Savage and Jake the Snake Roberts, all these people. Nowadays, wrestling, of course, WWE is what most people think of. And it's sort of seen as kind of something that kids watch, or kind of a geeky older men who watch this. There's actually quite a larger fan base than that, but that's sort of the stereotype. Then you get independent wrestling, which is much more of a hometown experience. Your local town, has a wrestling match, and the people that come there will be the friends of the wrestlers and the family members, co-workers, just something to kind of let off steam on the weekend, have a bit of fun. Now, of course, the situation's different in places like Mexico and Japan, where professional wrestling is much more closer to what it was, I suppose, in the United States in the 80s, where it's a very big, part of entertainment. And there's still a lot of people that act as if it's real, it's really sports, whereas here it's kind of laughed at, seen as sort of theater, kind of trashy, soap opera. But there's so much out there in terms of wrestling. It's not just one thing. But what Shimmer does, as I've said in my other videos, is it tries to bring together for a Midwestern, American audience, the best of what they can get for women's professional wrestling. People on the internet, rant and rave about, the women's wrestling that took place in the WWF in the Attitude Era, and before that, with Trish Stratus and Molly Holly and Mickie James and people like that. They talk about the Knockouts division in TNA, which really saw its heyday of 2007 to 2009. I was talking with a fan the other day about this, I forget the gentleman's name, but there was some backstage person, some producer, production, writer or something, who really, drove that women's division to be the best it could be. And when that person left, there was a drastic change. It kind of drifted away and became more sort of a stereotypical, diminished, sideshow attraction, as opposed to the, something on par with what the men were doing. But anyway, people look at NXT, they look at WWE or TNA and say, wow, that's women's wrestling, that's amazing. But actually, the independent promotions are the ones who are doing the best in terms of women's wrestling. They assemble the greatest, number of talents from around the world. You have Canadian, Japanese, Mexican, mostly United States wrestlers and Canadian, but a few other representatives from other places who come together in a place like Shimmer, and it's all women, and the emphasis is not on, kind of attractiveness or sex appeal, as they say, or eye candy. These are not women who try to be, valets and are just there to kind of distract, the male wrestlers. They are their own characters. They're allowed to be themselves, to tell stories. Now, Shimmer has never been big about the backstage segments. It's much more about telling a story in the ring. So the skillful moves, the getting the crowd fired up with these amazing moves, and drama. When someone is good, getting pummeled by a much more powerful opponent, but they're able, through their wits and skill, to rise up and to reverse the situation and to overcome these great odds. And you have these champions who very often are, arrogant and nasty, but very strong, and then the fan anticipation of who will dethrone them. Now that's a story that's told, with female wrestlers, and I think that's a very unique product, because most of these promotions, they'll either be no women wrestlers at all, or maybe there'll be one or two matches, and very often they are, shorter matches, tag team matches, and mostly just with sort of model-looking wrestlers who are just there to sort of be pretty, and many people dismiss this as, oh, this is silly. So, unfortunately for many wrestling fans, when someone hears you're a fan of wrestling, they'll go, oh, that trashy stuff on TV, right? Oh, a fan of women's wrestling. Oh, that's even sillier. It's just, a bathroom break. Why would you like that? Well, if you experience Shimmer, you can see that that is not true. That there is good women's wrestling out there. And these fans are very devoted. I've mentioned before, just the great levels. People travel from around the world to see Shimmer. And not just those that are involved in the promotion or fans of the promotion, but just so many people. And yet, when you look at the product itself, what you're seeing is basically, a fraternal order of the Eagles, club, a small, simple building, 250 fans, maybe, I'm not sure quite how many people are working backstage, but let's say like 10 to 20 people, including, the camera people selling food, the actual managers and producers, the, commentary team with the, microphones, and then you get an announcer and a couple of referees, and, maybe 30 to 40 wrestlers, and that's it. That's the whole thing. We're not talking about, a huge stadium filled with thousands of fans. Nothing like that is possible on such a small budget. But nevertheless, these wrestling fans who attend these events, of course, know all about it. For many of them, it seems, second nature, especially those who live in the area. They don't have far to go. But for someone like myself, who is not used to this sort of thing, but enjoys it very much, it's quite a treat. So I have much to say from my own perspective. And I imagine the general public, those who are watching these videos, maybe will never have a chance to see, the actual Shimmer product live. And for a video like this, I'm going to have to make a second part because I've said so much introductory. So this will just be sort of a part of a vlog with a V, victory, series, talking about my experiences this weekend. Of course, I recorded a video of myself traveling to the event. I recorded another small review of the hotel accommodations, just kind of for fun, just sort of struck me on the spot. I thought, I'm going to review this because it's different. I'm also planning to do a video about the merchandise that I've acquired over the years, connected with Shimmer. Of course, this is not just from this weekend, thank goodness, but from the 6 to 7 shows that I've seen over the course of, the last nearly 5 years. So, anyway, yes, I just wanted to share that. So, don't be surprised if by the time this video is published, that everyone else has sort of said everything that they possibly could say about Shimmer, volume 76 through 79. Certainly, the digital versatile discs are not available yet. There's no recording of the show, so it's going to be full of spoilers. And anyone that's watching it now won't be able to see for themselves really what happened. Of course, you can read about it. You can see a few photos. I heard there was even a leaked. Someone recorded a match, and that's frowned upon. They're not really supposed to do that. But I'm not sure if the person had permission or not to stream it. But nevertheless, no one will see the show other than those who are there for 6 months to a year. So I hope no one's jealous, thinking, well, you spoiled the show for me. No, what I'm doing is I'm sharing my thoughts. You don't have to watch it now. You can wait until the digital versatile disc comes out. But I just want to show that these are my unique perspectives and unaffected by a DVD. Because when the DVD comes out, they choose certain camera angles and there's certain commentary, and it kind of skews your opinion a certain way. If you remember, of course, what it was like to be there in person, you can share, what maybe was different from the actual experience from the DVD. And that's what I plan to do anyway. When those DVDs come out, I do plan to review them, if I'm able. And certainly, I'm sure there were many things that will be brought to mind that were not, I was not thinking about at the time. Maybe little moments that I missed. On this show, there's a lot of brawling into the crowd in the last couple of volumes, so certainly there were things that I didn't see with my visual receptors. But anyway, that'll have to wait for another video. So this was my introduction, but I just wanted to say that, don't get the wrong idea about these videos. I'm sharing a perspective. I'm not trying to ruin the show for anyone, certainly. And if you were there, you have your own memories, your own experiences and opinions about it. They may differ from mine. I'm not asking you to accept what I say as fact, as the only truth. But I just want to share my perspective. And I hope that maybe it'll inspire someone who hasn't seen Shimmer before to give it a chance, to check it out. Or maybe if you haven't been to a live show before, give it a shot. If you haven't been there for years. I did run into some fans that, used to attend many shows and they hadn't been around for many years, and they kind of came back, and I think it was hard for them to get into it because they didn't recognize a lot of the wrestlers. But then there were some surprises this weekend. Some wrestlers had come back, and it was very emotional for these fans to see these, old-time veterans, as you will, coming back to the ring one more time. So it was quite fun. So anyway, I'll see you in the next vlog. I thank you for listening to this sort of generic introduction. So very good. Thank you for watching.